WNYathletics.com would like to thank today's sponsors. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services. Ready to sell your home? Visit howardhanna.com today. Howard Hanna. Home happens here. Western New York Immediate Care, with 4 convenient locations in the Buffalo area: Amherst, Buffalo, Depew, Lancaster, and Orchard Park. Western New York Immediate Care is now offering telemedicine services to provide you care anytime, anywhere. Visit WNY Immediate Care on-site or virtually at WNYimmediatecare.com. Logistics Plus Buffalo is your go-to resource for all your transportation needs. LP moves freight of all shapes and sizes all across the world. Call LP Buffalo today at 716-877-9653 or email buffalo@logisticsplus.com. AdPro Sports. AdPro is the largest team sports dealers and brand merchandise providers in the nation. For a variety of custom merchandise solutions, from apparel to promotional items, visit adprosports.com. Empire Electric. For all your home, business, or office electrical needs, call Empire Electric at 716-634-0330. Free estimates and financing available for all customers. Empire Electric. Call 716-634-0330. Morning, everybody. Welcome to WNY Athletics High School Sports Saturday. I'm Frank Wolf, joined with Tom Prince of WNY Athletics, and we're going to have some special guests on the show today. It's Saturday. We got about a week to go before Christmas. Tom, I'm not sure if you started wrapping any of the gifts yet.
No, absolutely not.
Are you done?
I'm not even close.
Are you done shopping at least?
No.
You started.
Yes. Okay. That I can say I've done.
That's good.
Least.
That's good. I'm still in a double X, by the way.
Okay.
Much to my chagrin, we started the year off tinkering. We thought we might be able to get the 1X, but it didn't happen.
And I'm
mostly your fault, by the way.
It's always my fault.
Mostly your fault.
And remember, don't share any gift ideas with Frank because he does tell them on people, right?
I can't keep quiet. Don't tell me what you're buying your kids, and then run them by me and say, "Oh, what do you want for Christmas this year?" Oh, I know. Anyways, we had an interesting couple of weeks since our last show. We had Roger Weiss on last time. We weren't able to get him in studio today, but he's probably watching at home. And if you are watching us today, you could send your questions or comments, and we'll get them, and we'll read your answer, or we'll give you answers to your questions and comments and that sort of thing. So either way, glad you could join us today for this. Basically, is a continuation of Inside High School Sports, is what we were doing with Tony Caligiuri at GR for a few years. We didn't want that show to end, so we picked it up. We're doing our own thing. I don't know if we definitely don't have 50,000 people listening like they probably did on any given weekend, but we're going to do the best we can to kind of pick that show up and run with it. We're going to give you as many highlights and updates as we can from the past week. And we're going to maybe focus on one or two different sports each week and things like that. We're going to have a lot of fun no matter what. We're going to have a lot of fun. I know today we got Tim Delaney from South Park joining us. We're going to do a little bit of a year-end football review. After that, Rich Kozak, the Frontier FC boys head coach, will join us. We'll talk a little bit about the previous soccer season. And Chris Durr, the Section 6 chairman for girls soccer, is going to join us as well. We're going to talk about what happened this past year with girls soccer. So we're here for 2 hours?
Yeah, 2 hours, 9 to 11.
It's a 2-hour show. So this show is brought to you by Western New York Immediate Care. We are going to go out there and meet with them, I think, just after the holiday and introduce people to Western New York Immediate Care. These guys have stepped up to help us in what we're trying to do and cover these high school sports, these athletes. Western New York Immediate Care is a major sponsor of ours. And they've really stepped up, and not just for us, but at the end of the day, they stepped up for the kids. That's the most important thing. They've got 4 convenient locations throughout Western New York. Their holiday hours are up on their website, Western New York Immediate Care. If you get injured, if something happens, stop out and see Western New York Immediate Care. And if you do have to go, and I hope you don't have to go, but if you do have to go to Western New York Immediate Care, mention that you saw an advertisement in WNY Athletics. If you would do that, that would be great. Yesterday I got this picture behind me of Dick Gallagher. I was fidgeting with it with Francis in the office, and he was driving me insane with these camera angles. I said, Francis, I don't want the camera right in my face. Push it back a little bit. The people don't need to see this at 8, 9 in the morning on a Saturday morning. They're having their coffee. I don't want them to spit it all over themselves. But anyways, I'm moving Dick's picture around left to right, in, out, and it's driving me insane. Finally, I said, Francis, just shut up. Move back. Be quiet. Dick's fine over there. I turn around, and the thing falls and hits me right in the face. Almost breaks my nose. Blood everywhere. It hurt. I thought I had a concussion for a second there. I still have some effects. But anyways, I almost had to go to Western New York Immediate Care yesterday. Thankfully, I didn't. I sucked it up. You know, I seen some of the hits those guys took on the football field last year, this past fall, and I'm like, if you've seen some of the hits those guys took, I didn't see them in immediate care. I can't go for something silly like that.
Actually, when Luke got hurt this year in his game, we went to Western New York Immediate Care.
Very nice.
Right afterwards.
Which location? The Lancaster?
One in Orchard Park.
Orchard Park location. Yeah. Very nice. Okay. So that's that. We also have a couple other sponsors. We've got Logistics Plus of Buffalo. If you know anybody in the shipping world that needs to ship stuff, give Logistics Plus of Buffalo a call. And then Tony Palventeri of Empire Electric. Another nice sponsor of Tony does a great job. His company, Empire Electric. Give them a visit. It's EmpireElectricians.com. Give them a call. And of course, Tony was a previous coach at Cardinal O'Hara for boys basketball, but his business just went berserk and didn't, something had to give. So he's doing that.
Will we get him on any color stuff like that? Okay, good.
Yeah, Tony said he wanted to come and join us for. I'll tell you what. If we could have done the Canisius Timon game yesterday, he would have been perfect for that. Yeah. I was reading.
Did you hear about the St. Mary's Orchard Park game?
Yes, that was Thursday night.
Yes,
it
was another big one.
Yes, but I'll tell you, Mike Pedanek should have a story, a recap of that Canisius Timon up on the website sometime this morning. But I'll tell you, it looked like Timon was beating Canisius the whole time until the very end. So another miraculous comeback there for Canisius, who actually earlier in the week lost to Joe's.
And then did the same thing with Health Sciences.
Yeah.
They were up big by 15. Health Sciences came rearing back, and they won a squeaker.
Yeah. But Canisius got over the hump yesterday with the win over Timon, who's gave them a scare. Talk to me about the Orchard Park St. Mary's game. What I heard it was
St. Mary's was down by 22 in this one.
Oh wow!
Come rearing back to win a last-second shot in that game.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big Orchard Park players gets hurt, and then you can kind of see the momentum change after that injury came into place. Yeah, well, Chris McDonald is who had gotten hurt, rolled his ankle, from what I understand, and it was like a momentum shift after he had come off the floor.
And do we know how he's doing now?
I don't, but we do got to get an update on Chris. Okay. Great athlete. He's one of the wide receivers on the Orchard Park football team. Obviously, a big impact on the basketball team right here. But no doubt, very, 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 very good athlete that is now coming into his own inside of his junior year.
Right now, switching gears a little bit, boys wrestling's going on up at NCCC today, second day of the Linda Natilla Invitational, and just some of the names that are going at it today that have reached the semifinals. You've got, you may know some of these names. Let's see what I see. Austin Chase from Falconer, he's at 145, still alive. His teammate Charlie Reichenbach, he's going at 145. We may see them two guys in the finals. Couple other guys, CJ Updegrove, Star Point, always one of the top wrestlers at 152, going strong. Of course, Gage LaPlante, Star Point, also one of their football players, had a good year. Saw some other guys too. Yeah. Isn't he? He is a quarterback there. Yeah.
Quarterback, linebacker.
Yeah. So what else did I see? O'Rourke does a great job. Oh, the big match today, 285. Carlson from Lancaster, and guess who he's taking on? From Randolph.
The lineman down there.
Yes.
I'm blanking on his name right now.
It'll come to you. Hall of Fame, two Trench Trophy Hall of Famers.
Both Trench Trophy finalists.
Yeah.
And in fact, what was neat about
Carpenter.
Ryan Carpenter. Thank you. What was neat about what we did this year is we went to all the coaches and asked them about some of the top linemen they faced this year. In fact, Coach Delaney, you were one that got a text from us that said, who were some of the top players you saw on the offensive line and defensive line? Because they're the guys that don't get some of the credit that's out there when we really talk about recognition. And I'll tell you, Ryan Carpenter came through in every single team he faced. That was a name we saw come up over and over and over again.
I want to give a shout out to Carter Tadus, 100th. I think I said that name right. He's also a Lancaster legend. He got his 100th career win. So congratulations to him. Basketball action, we already talked a little bit about, the time again. Oh, CJ Updegrove also got his 100th career win. So shout out to him as well. I love that kid, Updegrove. Tough kid from Star Point. Some other basketball scores I saw off the top of my head, I can't remember them, but we'll get back to you, and we'll go down some of the scores from yesterday, and we'll highlight. Now, girls basketball and boys basketball, I'm sure you'll have Chad, and I won't be here next week, but if you and Francis are game to do that, maybe we'll get Chad in and see what he's doing Saturday morning.
Well, we're also going to announce, remember, the All-Western New York teams. So
yes,
we're going to go through the All-Western New York athletics teams, where we've done first and second teams for both large and small schools, and both Francis and I will be unveiling that next Saturday to all of Western New York.
So maybe the Christmas show edition will be that of the post-Christmas show. Then we'll get into boys basketball and get Chad in. I know Chris Durr's coming in later. He's the girls basketball chairman as well, so we'll get his thoughts there. Shout out to Nelson Adams, who's watching at home. Always good to have Nelson on board. He's one of the biggest high school sports supporters. What else do we have? Because I don't want to waste Tim's time. Tim is here in studio right now. He's the coach of the South Park Sparks, and you know them. Whoa.
One more. I want to congratulate Ethan Sturheim, Williamsville North offensive lineman, another Division I commit right here that is now committed to play football at the Division I level, and couldn't be more excited about that. I mean, just another great football player, and we're seeing right now. And by the way, he's committed to Valparaiso is where he's going to go. But you're talking about what you see in New York State right now for Division I commits. Almost half of them are coming out of Western New York right now.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
The other big winner on the court yesterday was Iroquois boys basketball. They beat Maryvale. Justice Kleitz had 31, and I think he had 28 his opening night. So the freshman continues to get things done.
Remember the freshman, and this is 2 years experience now. Remember, he was up there as an 8th grader as a major impact player on that team. Trust me, this kid can do it on the basketball court. And to be honest with you, at this age, he may be better on the basketball court than on the football field. Just to shows how good of an athlete he really is.
Yeah, he might be for sure. So congratulations to Iroquois. They got the win. I know. Last night I was out for a little bit, and I noticed the Kim Maurice boys basketball coaches came in to the establishment I was at, and unfortunately they had their heads down a little bit. They dropped a tough one to Pioneer yesterday, so congratulations to Pioneer Panthers on getting by Francis Beck's Kim Maurice Bulldogs last night.
And Pioneer, another very good basketball team. In fact, I'm going to get a chance to go down there. I want to do some sort of, it's not obviously not a preseason preview, but a preview with that team. I will be going down to Pioneer and doing something with them.
I heard they were very good, and of course we'll do some wrestling down there as we get things going. This Monday, you can catch the road crew. They are out at Damon. They're doing girls basketball. Will South is technically hosting Nichols girls basketball. We also have Wednesday, we have wrestling, Newfane and Wilson. That's at Newfane on Wednesday. And then Thursday is Francis Beck's Fedmas.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to dress up as Santa Claus and produce those games. So there's 3 of them. There's a girls game, Williamsville and Cash at 4:30, and then I believe Will South and Will East at 6, and then the big one at night is St. Joe's taking on Will North at 8:15. So it's WNYA Athletics Fedmas on Thursday. Don't miss that.
And he compares, so everybody gets an idea. You know, you may not follow every one of these high school sports, right? But if you do follow hockey, what Francis will say is that Will North St. Joe's rivalry is probably bigger than a Canisius St. Joe's game in hockey world, in hockey terms.
He's saying
if
you ever go down to the Harbor Center if Canisius and Joe's are playing, you'll have the Blue Crew 100 strong, and you'll have Joe's 100 to 150 strong. It's very comparable. I would still say Canisius Joe's is a bigger rivalry whenever they play.
Yeah.
Yes, but in hockey, those two programs don't care for each other too much. Let's put it that way.
And that builds a new rivalry.
It does build up, and it is exciting. And I think the reason it's the arena's packed, Northtown's packed, everyone's home from school. So you get a lot of those kids that played previous years to come back, the alumni. But it is 2-3 deep, standing room only, all around the boards. I've been there for a bunch of them, and it's a great game. Great atmosphere, great hockey atmosphere. The closest atmosphere to that would be semifinals at Harbor Center. That's how loud it is. It is super loud. So it is going. But West Seneca East, West Seneca West in the barn on a Friday night, you look out. That place is nuts too.
Orchard Park Timon, when those two go ahead in hockey, I know it's insane every matchup they play right there. So a lot of great matchups. Just trying to give everybody how great of a game this could be.
Get out
to watch.
there. Get out there and watch it. Buy a ticket. Get in. $5, I think it is, whatever it is, or you can watch it on WNYA Athletics. Anyways, we want to talk a little bit. We want to close out the football season from a coach's perspective. So that's why we invited Coach Tim Delaney on today, just to talk a little bit about what happened this past season, not just with the Sparks in Class A, but throughout the section. And maybe he can even talk a little bit about where he believes football is headed from our point of view. You mentioned we just had another D1 commit. We had a number of them last year go and play at various schools. We had 2 go to Pitt alone. So we do have Coach Tim Delaney, and why don't we welcome him on? Can we bring him up on screen? Look, there he is. Brave the cold elements to get here today, wearing his Sparks sweatshirt, looking good. What's up, Coach?
Nothing. Thanks for having me. Yeah, a little chilly in South Buffalo, but we made it all the way to the North Towns here.
Coach, you guys got to the playoffs, had running with Clarence at the end there, but all in all, you still got to be happy with the development of your team. You still have, if not the top, one of the best quarterbacks in our area who's getting a lot of looks. And correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't he just in Texas?
He's in Texas
He's there now.
Yeah,
okay.
He's there now.
Why don't you talk to us a little bit about Noah Willoughby and how he fits in with your program and where you see yourself with Noah under center?
Yeah, he's a 2-year starter going into his senior year. He's down in the Army All-American Bowl combine situation, getting some serious attention from different scouting services and different colleges at the moment. You just mentioned Pitt. Pitt was just in and came into school yesterday.
Wow.
They were making a pass through Buffalo on their recruiting trail. So stopped at Bennett, stopped at South Park, and he kept on moving down towards Pittsburgh. So, Noah is Noah's one of the best kids that we've had at that position, and we've had a few good ones. So, really excited about where he's gone from his sophomore year to his junior year, and then where we're going to see him go to his senior year.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, we've only been around since 2016. You had a quarterback that won a state championship with you, but Noah, to me, from what I've read and what I've seen and heard from others that have done this before us, Noah might be the first quarterback you had that could chuck it with the precision, the accuracy. He's the full package.
Noah's the best thrower of the football that I've seen in person since I got to coach Joe Licata when he was a freshman. So, as far as the actual just back there playing quarterback and throwing the football, there is no rival, and I've seen all the guys. So he already, for us as our program, he already holds the single season passing yards record, the single game passing yards record, the single game touchdowns record, the career yards record, the career touchdowns record, and he's got a year.
He's got a year.
Wow.
He'll break, most likely, assuming that things go smoothly, he'll break the Western New York yards record next year as a career.
Insane.
By a good amount. He'll have to throw a lot of touchdowns. We'll have to win a lot of games and score a lot of points for him to break the touchdown record. But
you go down to B though this year.
We will be.
Not that that'll be any easier, but
no. I mean, we played Pioneer in a non-leaguer last year, and they beat us. There's good football in B, and obviously Iroquois I was waiting for you guys to mention the Barry kid. You already mentioned the quarterback.
Yep.
I was waiting for you to mention the Barry kid on the wrestling mat. Like, they have really good players. We've played. The thing is that our school enrollment has dropped a little bit, but so has a number of teams. Our division will be, assuming that they haven't solidified divisions yet, but assuming they do it the way they've done it, our division will look very similar. Kenmore East, Williamsville South, Amherst, Cheektowaga, we played a long time ago. West Seneca East is right around the same number as us. We've played West Seneca East for years.
You've had some battles. with them.
Albion
Coach
will be in
Marino.
that mix too, won't they?
Albion wouldn't be in the top. If they do it how they've done it by the numbers, there'll be 21 Bs.
So
And the top 7 are Amherst,
Kenmore East.
Kenmore East, Williamsville South, South Park, Cheektowaga, West Seneca East, and Pioneer are the
That's
top
a hell
7.
of a division.
Wow, that
That is
is
a hell of a
that
division.
is crazy division.
And then Iroquois obviously would be the class of B, and we used to play them all the time. I mean, they were a South school when
Yep.
they did
Yep.
it by geography before they went down to B.
But just listen to that. I mean, you're talking about Pioneer returning a good core right there.
Great
You
number.
returning your core right there, right? You know, Amherst, I thought had one of his best years in a while, getting to 10 games. They haven't done since, I think it was 2012 was the last time they played 10 games in a season, right? So then you add them in now into the mix. You know, still talking about the other side. Albion's bringing back, you know, some big players over there into
Albion,
Joneses.
Maryville had a
Did
great
Joneses
year.
come back?
They'll be-
Yeah, they're juniors. They're
I have the one as a senior. I have Amari down. Everywhere I look, he shows he's a senior, but I thought he was only a junior.
He said he was a junior to us.
I don't know.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, that was one of the most dynamic football players I've seen in all of Western New York last year. Just, I don't think we gave this kid enough of the spotlight. Because when I saw Amari Jones play, I was taken back. The speed, the accuracy.
He was a good player.
Well, and he's going to play at the next level. We could be talking
wants
about
to,
him as one of the Division I recruits coming out of here. Personally, I think, you know, because of how much of an athlete he is, you'll see him at the D-back position at the next level is where I think he's going to land. But I'll tell you, sheer athleticism and just the nose for the ball, understanding where it's going to be, when it's going to be. I love this kid. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. It really is.
If we get Amari Jones,
They got listed on the website as a senior.
if we get him for another year, then I could see Albion pushing for a sectional title. I really can. As long as they have the pieces around him, of course. It's not just one player, as you know, because you have one of the best players in Western New York. But Amari Jones, with his brother, and maybe that line returning, they
Yeah.
could be something special. And
he
special
has-
teams
he had a big
alone.
lineman. You got to remember, coach is a lineman.
Yeah.
Right? That coach can teach line. He's a lineman himself. He was a former lineman at the University of Buffalo.
So, Coach, continuing on, where do you see us as a section, and even speak on the Monsignor Martin, where do you see us compared to, say, even 5 years ago? Are we getting better? Are we, and when I say getting better, I want to know, because you've won a state championship. You've seen Section 4, you've seen 5, you've seen 3, up close and personal. Are we on that level where we can start really competing for state championships year after year? Because I saw that Somers team. I don't know anybody in A that was going to be able to play with them.
I think that
RA anyways.
I think that it goes in cycles.
Okay.
And I think that as far as a section in an area, Western New York puts together, you know, some of the best football in the state, if not the best football in the state. I mean, there's been years in the past where 4 state championship teams, you know, so there's times where, you know, you're going to have some of the best teams are going to be in our area, and some of that stuff depends on class, a little bit of luck. I mean, Lancaster had its best team, you know, maybe ever, and they ended up coming up against Troy, who had their best team probably ever. You know, so some of those things, you know, just kind of happen that way, and it's not anyone's fault as long as our area continues to work really hard at, you know, all of the off-season stuff that we've done in the past. And, you know, obviously some of the things kind of got, you know, turned around because of COVID, but I think you'll see really this year will be a full, real regular off season for all programs. So I really feel like our area does put together some of the best football in the state, and that's recognized around the state by other
Okay.
people. I'm lucky enough to be on the New York State Coaches Association committee, and I'll talk to guys from across the state, and they bring up teams, not just South Park because I'm on the committee. They bring up teams in Western New York, ask me about different coaches and different players because they are paying attention to what teams are going to go forward.
As a coach right now, what was your biggest challenge this year, and how different is today's player, the kids you're going to have on your roster next year? How different are they from, say, the kids you coached 3 years ago or even 5 years ago? What's the biggest challenge right now?
I think the biggest challenge right now for us, and I had said that 2 years ago when COVID was happening, was coming out of COVID and getting over all of the things that we had to overcome. We, as a district, as the Buffalo Public Schools, we didn't have our kids in the building. We were going to school virtually for half of the school year, and then to bring them back in a hybrid model, and those are things that had to happen. But that we went from being in full swing as our program, and I know other programs in the city, the same thing. We were in full swing of off-season mode, of workouts, and all the things that you do, and then to completely shut down, and then to not only completely shut down, to not play JV football. We didn't play.
That was tough.
The city didn't play JV sports.
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult, if not impossible, to do it. So that's we opted to not and push out a season to get back into that, all of the things. And then last year we were still wearing masks, and there was all the things were still happening, even on a smaller scale. Now I feel like, we're beyond the vast majority of that. Kids are back in school, back with a full mindset as to things are more back to normal. And, some of those things have to do with they were not going to school as a 7th grader or an 8th grader or 9th grader, whatever year that kind of hit them. Now it's, for us personally, our kids have the weight room open 4 days a week, and, that getting back into that mode, which last year ushered into this year, and I think you'll see a lot more teams just back to a full regular off-season swing.
Hey, Coach, I want to add into that because I believe the offseason has changed here in Western New York. I believe their teams were in the weight room year after year. That's been going on for 10 years or more there. The change I thought that happened this year in the offseason for many teams was the upper camps, the 7-on-7s, those, not to say teams weren't doing it, but the amount of teams in Western New York now doing it, I think, is more than ever, which I believe that is really what you're talking about is the increase in football. I also believe, and I'd love your opinion on that, do you think because of that and the offseason stuff that's going on, some younger quarterbacks throughout Western New York are getting opportunities they may not have gotten before because they can see them in pressure in these scenarios, outside of course, a season?
Yeah, fortunately for us, that's an opportunity that we've kind of taken a hold of for. I've been the head coach for 15 years. We've been going to uppers camps for 12 years. So, but not everybody did, and to your point, I feel like even more so, especially this last year, getting back into things, you were hearing, okay, these schools are getting together and these schools are getting together in this different camp and this different camp, and there is no way of just having this conversation with another coach about basketball. If you're a basketball coach, not to say that you're not working 12 months a year, I'm sure that most guys are doing the same thing, but your kids can go out and get basketball reps, real basketball reps, at AAU, in the gym down the street, in a church league, in a men's rec league. There's, if you're a junior, senior in high school, you're playing men's rec league sometimes. Those are real basketball reps. You can't get a real football rep anywhere but in high school football. You can't. There's not a thing. There's no other thing. Yes, there are 7-on-7s, and 7-on-7 is important, but it is not the same thing as putting on a helmet and shoulder pads and lining up in 11-on-11 situations against other high school kids. And you can't get that any other way. So that's why those upper camps become so important. And then, to be able to take your team and go against another team, whether they're bigger or smaller, or you're trying, depending on what your program is attempting to do, there's just no better way to do it. And then to your point as the quarterbacks, there is no, yes, they can go and work out, they can go and throw, and our guys, one of the main guys who's out there throwing all the time with everybody, doing all the things. But it's different when you have to catch it from the center and there's guys coming at you versus, in shorts and a t-shirt throwing it around. So, yeah.
All right, we're going to come up and take our first break here. We'll be back in just a few moments. This is Frank and Tom, High School Sports Saturday. We got Coach Tim Delaney in studio. Here's a word from our sponsor.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
I love being home.
There's nothing better than owning the perfect house to come home to. You've earned it, and we'll make it happen. Our local real estate experts and in-house team of financial professionals make buying or selling your home simple. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
I love being.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday. I'm Frank Wolf, and Tom Prince is here. We're going to be continuing our football year in review with Coach Tim Delaney of South Park. Thank you very much for braving the cold, the snow, whatever you had to deal with coming out of South Park today. I'm in Tonawanda, Amherst area, and it's nothing.
You got an inch. You got an inch here.
We didn't even get that.
I'm back to Winter Wonderland again.
I was embarrassed hearing about the stories of you coming out of Orchard Park again today, and there better not be a snowstorm next week. I'm telling you right now. Santa gets trapped somewhere, and we don't get any gifts. I'm going to be upset.
They're talking about major storm for next weekend for the holiday.
Okay. Anything to scare us. Anything to scare us or get us to watch the news. I refuse. I'll just look outside. I'm never prepared. Anyways, let's just keep going. We got Tim Delaney in. Let's not waste his time. Coach, was there a player outside of South Park? You saw a lot of A teams. Why don't we start there with Class A? What teams impressed you the most? Which players impressed you the most? And which one do you think next year has the best chance of coming out of A, if you had to guess today?
Out of our, outside of our team, obviously the Trey Drake kid from Orchard Park, from Jamestown was really good, and their linebacker, the O'Brien kid, I thought was a really good player. They had a couple nice receivers too. Will North had the nice tailback. I know that all those guys are seniors. The O'Brien kid's a senior, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I know Jamestown goes back up to AA. Will North, I assume, will be pretty good in A. Clarence is going to be pretty good in A. They were really good on
Mm-hmm.
JV. They present some problems with how large they are.
Clarence?
Clarence, yeah, their JV quarterback was.
I heard he's legit.
He was, all of 6'2" and moving around, and he was a really good player.
Bergio's very excited about this kid.
He
And
should
they had a lot
be.
of guys. I mean, Clarence had a lot of guys. They had, I think Paul told me they had 50. They had 50 kids on varsity, 50 kids on JV, and 62 kids on modified. We rolled out there with our 28 varsity dudes. So it's they lined up every kid on the O lines 275 or better. They're big and they're well coached. They do a good job out there. So I would imagine Clarence will definitely have a good chance in A. McKinley returned some guys. Their tailback was a really good player.
Tyrone Hughes.
Their JV was, I think in the city, our JV is always a little bit at a disadvantage as we don't have modified. So most of our kids are meeting us for the very first time a few weeks before school. They don't even know what high school they're going into until the summer.
And Tim, that's coming, isn't it?
We're working.
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces to get there. I think there's some things that people just don't really understand about how big of a district our district is. We have 40 middle schools. There's 40 schools where kids go 7th and 8th grade. We're not going to have 40 modified teams.
Do you guys have those days where kids from the middle schools come and visit your high school? I think they call shadow days.
No.
So they don't even know.
They'll apply. There's a few schools that you have to test into, so they'll take tests, and then they just apply to the schools that they are interested in going to, and then it kind of goes from there. So we'll get a list, at every school we'll get a list of our incoming 9th graders. We'll call those kids and try to get them out to summer workouts, and that's how we meet them early. But if you think about a JV team, a JV team where the kids are coming from a modified team, they not only do they know everybody and how everything works, they know how to get to the practice. Our
Correct.
kids don't even know how to get to the schools yet.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. To my knowledge, South Park and McKinley are the only two standalone programs.
Correct.
Meaning you don't have any other schools compiling your roster. You have the kids that come to South Park, and that's who you get.
Yep.
And McKinley is the same way. Whereas other Buffalo schools, even Burgard has the assistance of at least one other school
Burgard has,
to draw from.
Performing arts. And
Okay.
then Bennett is 6 or 7 schools, and Hutch Tech is 6 schools.
Yeah, it's
something
a lot.
that's-
How much of a you can answer or not? How much? I mean, we know the answer, but how much of a disadvantage is that for your program?
I wouldn't say it's a disadvantage. It's just how it has been for a while.
Okay.
And the disadvantage comes with if South Park did take a team, where would our school, how would the kids get to practice?
Yes.
We've done that before many years ago, and it's really difficult. The kids have to rely on getting on an NFTA bus to get down to the school.
Yeah.
To come to practice, and kids are coming late, and there's a lot of working parts that go along with that. Now, with that said, obviously we have some nice advantages too. And Bennett went on and is obviously rolling along, playing really well. Steve's doing a good job with those kids, and making that a home for those kids. And some of that has to happen. We have a lot of those schools that Bennett comprises are really small. They wouldn't be able to have their own football team, and those are some of the things that when you have programs where there's 200 kids in the school, there's not a lot of places that have football with 200 kids in the school.
Yeah.
So.
And the schools that have 200 are like your CSPs, where they have other schools. So you have to.
Yeah, there's a lot of obviously there's a lot of merged things happening in the area and across the state. I mean that's how it is. So.
So we talked a little bit about did you saw Pioneer last year? Are there other classes that you could speak of because you see enough football? I mean, I've seen you at a number of games last year, and of course we saw you in Syracuse. Are there other programs out there that you're excited about with the potential to come out of Western New York next year? What other programs excite you?
Yeah, AA obviously. I would assume it'll be a lot of the same that we're used to seeing.
Bennett
will be really good. They have some really good underclassmen. The Jameer Thomas kid comes back, and the Hamilton kid comes back. Those are two Division I prospects.
Those are two kids that
are getting looked at. I mean, when Pitt came through. That was the two kids that he talked about at Bennett as 2024 kids.
I thought Hamilton was incredible.
Really good player.
Yeah,
Jameer,
the biggest
obviously,
difference
we knew
we're
was
going
gonna
to
be
see
good.
with Bennett next year is you are losing
Your quarterback.
forget the quarterback. You're losing a lineman that commanded double and triple teams every time he stepped on the field.
Yeah, I mean, you're losing
Right.
two premier top, career type kids.
Yes.
Right. So to
James
me,
Thomas is great.
but that
Trap
double,
Perry's
triple
great.
team coach shifts to other players now.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
what's
he'll
going to
have-
be the shift.
He'll have to be as good, and
Yep.
I'm sure there's some other kids rolling around. Steve's son was only a sophomore. You know,
Yep.
they got some
Yep.
guys. OP, I know that the younger quarterback was really good when we saw him do some 7-on-7 stuff.
Hayek.
So I didn't know the kids.
Yeah.
Yep,
names.
Hayek, yep.
You know, so
He's a lefty, the lefty quarterback.
yeah.
Yep.
So I assume OP.
They have a lot of
will-
lefty quarterbacks coming through that program.
Yeah,
over the years.
and again, remember their running back in Orchard Park was a sophomore too. He's going to be a junior next year, so they've got a lot of pieces. I think the line, which was the only senior that they're losing, is Luke, my son, on that line. That is a line that's now coming back with some, some experience that's out there.
Familiarity with each other.
Exactly. And they're talking about McDonald, who's, I think it's McDonald, one of the linemen right there. I know have already been recognized by some of the other coaches in the area just from a form perspective on how good he really is. Big wrestler, that is actually taking it to the next step as far as out there.
Yeah, I think that, you get Bennett, OP, Lancaster, obviously, Coach Rupp doing
No
a great
doubt.
job, year in, year out. There's always expect them to be right there. They just turn over kids that are, well coached and ready to play football at all times. And then obviously Jamestown, Coach Langworthy's obviously doing a great job winning back-to-back A titles that go back up to AA, and they have it going down there too. They're the only show in town. They get all their youth guys coming up and playing modified, and then modified playing JV and then varsity. So
Is Maritime Health Sciences moving up too, or are they staying?
So we haven't necessarily heard
Don't know.
just yet. I got to believe they stay in A. Coach, let me ask you this. You see in Section 5 at least those private schools, they incorporated them into the states, into the section because they want to play for state titles. I had a theory, and Tom, we talked about this. I want to ask your opinion. If push came to shove and they incorporated those private schools into the Section 6 schedule so that they could play for a state title, I suggested that they take all 6 of them and throw them up into the AAA category.
we have to get AAA first.
Well, it's on the way, right? There's no. Oh,
Remember, he's on the committee. So.
all right. So, but my theory was because there is recruiting going on. We know this. They're gonna do what they have to do to field teams. And Coach, firsthand, more than anybody, that they will recruit. They may say they won't, but we know firsthand that if a kid is good and wants to go play at a private school, there's a good chance he's going to go play at that private school if everything falls into place. You're right. So my thought was just throw them all in AAA or AA, whatever the case. Throw them in the highest class possible, make them play the highest, and then go from there. Play, even if it's O'Hara, who's struggling to put a team on the field year after year, put them in AAA or AA and compete that way.
Yeah, it would be, to me, the entire thing would be far better in general if our entire state just followed the same format. But that's not going to happen. They never, each section did what they did a really long time ago.
Okay.
And I would assume that, Section 6 is just not going to happen. So
You don't think that the privates and
No.
the section will ever come together? Just be tough.
I'm not. That's not my.
Not your decision.
Yeah,
But
not my decision. I don't see it happening. And then Section 5, I know that in Section 5, a long time ago that happened, and they tried to get them out, and they couldn't get them out. They legally couldn't get them out. If in the state, if we had 6 classes or 7 classes, if you played a large Catholic school, you could have the 5 classes we have and have a large Catholic or private charter and a small private charter. There's enough across the state
yeah.
that you could do that, and then people wouldn't feel as bad about playing non-leaguers. I don't think. That's my opinion. I don't know that for a fact.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
But also that would, to me, why don't Long Island and New York City come in and play in the state championships? The same thing, but they don't.
They don't want to, or they just don't?
They don't want to. Long Island makes more money in their championship games.
I've heard that too.
Than the state does.
So basically, if you went to 6 classifications, one of them was just for private or charter schools. Because health sciences, we got in trouble a couple years ago talking about this.
No, you got in trouble.
You went to the principal's office too, if I remember correctly. But no, we want it to be fair for everybody. But a team like, let's say, Pioneer wants to play for their Class B title or whatever, and there's a private school in there like a St. Mary's or something like that, they're at a disadvantage in terms of the players that they have to work with, because at Pioneer, you're getting Pioneer kids. St. Mary's, you can get a kid from Pioneer District to come play at St. Mary's. So it's a little unfair, but when it comes to the playoffs, like, have your regular season, incorporate the privates into your regular season, but when it comes time for postseason, all those privates, charters, whatever, they go into their own division. Whoever comes out wins. This way, a Bennett's not having to play a Canisius, although I think Bennett would have beat them pretty good this year. But you take that element out. You're going to play for state, but you're not going to play against Bennett for a chance to go play states.
It'd be interesting to see, but a lot of states, everybody just plays together. You go to Ohio, you go to Pennsylvania, the best team in Pennsylvania is a charter school out of Philadelphia.
Okay.
They've won multiple state championships in the biggest classification. Now, how they determine which classifications teams are in, those kind of things. In Arizona, there was a team that was a public school team that won so much that they started a whole new division because of them.
Wow.
So everybody does some wild things, some different things. So, with all that being said, this is what is currently happening. You're going to play in those parameters of, hopefully there is a 6 classification. You're just going to see some bumps in the road as far as those numbers will just kind of shift for all the middle teams. You won't have such a big disparity in A. There was a 400 kid difference from the smallest A to the biggest A. And that's if you just say that there's half boys, half girls, that's 200 kids. Clarence had 200 more kids than we had. 200 more boys to choose from than we had.
Wow.
That's a large difference for schools. Now, at some point, there's going to be some of that variance, no matter what you do, because you're not gonna only play the team that has the exact same amount of kids. But in the end, you look at the schedule and you say, all right, we're going to try to beat these teams, and that's the best you can do as far as the program. You just got to worry about who you worry about you first, and then play your schedule.
Not going to put you on the spot. All right, I said to myself I wasn't going to put you on the spot.
Sounds like you're going to put me on
the spot. I was just going to go, where's the butt in this one, right?
You saw Bennett play. You saw them in the state finals. How do you think they would have done on a national scale?
Oh, that's tough to say. I mean, they did play 2 out-of-state games.
Yeah.
And they played McDowell really tough, lost them in OT, and then they got beat by the team out of Youngstown. It was a pretty good team out of Youngstown, a state-ranked team out of Ohio. So I don't pay as close of attention to like national rankings. So I'm not. I mean, I do know obviously who some of the big teams are around the country.
Yeah.
I think that in New York State, in general, while we are producing really good players and have plenty of kids play Division I, I mean the coach that came in from Pitt actually said to me, some of our best kids are New York kids.
That's good to hear.
Really, we watched Noah's highlight together, and we talked about kids at Bennett, and we talked about some other kids around the area, and he was interested. It wasn't just a pass through. As a state, as a whole, the culture of high school football is not the same as it is in other places. It's just not. Look at practice fields and stadiums, and the amount of money that gets put towards high school athletics in general. But if you're talking specifically about high school football, look at some of the stadiums in other places. Look at who coaches the teams. Everybody that coaches a team in New York State, everybody. I mean, 97% of high school football coaches are teachers that get paid a stipend to coach football. Go to some of the big states.
They're full-time jobs.
They're full-time jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, we have one.
That's so you're talking about a culture of it's really, really important versus we're putting on an activity. And while we, take that activity very seriously, it's not the same from the grand scheme of administrators, all the way down. We're going to make this really important. We don't have mandated spring ball. I mean, that's like the number one thing. Big states, like they have, we're doing it. We're doing the best we can with the parameters that we can work in. But in other states, they actually have spring ball. They have 3 weeks of real practice with their guys. Even if they're playing lacrosse or they're playing baseball or whatever, like there is time carved out for spring ball, for football. I feel like we did a little bit more with the schedule now. We got that extra game. If you play for a state championship, you get to game 14. But it's just the overall feeling. And then that culture is built by families. Now a family is going to say, it's really important here. I'm going to put forth that much effort for my son or daughter, whatever the situation is, to push that athletic endeavor for the student athlete. And it's just not the same here as it is everywhere else. So I feel like not to go off on a tangent about all that, it makes it difficult for even our best of our best teams to talk about competing nationally.
I would have loved, though, to see them, Bennett team, play that CBA team out of Albany.
The CBA team out of Albany really got the.
Unfortunately, like you said, it was a targeting call that got called. But
we've had those calls against us too.
Absolutely, and listen, you got to play with the what's dealt to you. But I think it would have been a fantastic state championship game, is what it would have been. Yep.
I still like Bennett. I still don't know how.
And I still would have too. I just meant it would have been a fun game to watch because I think it would have been much closer.
They ended up with, the Perry kid could play anywhere in the country. He's going to an ACC school. The Lewis kid had an ACC offer, even though he's going to stay at UB. The Jameer Thomas kid has a MAC offer.
He's going to get much more. He's got more coming. That kid.
So, though, when you have guys like that on your team, you can compete against schools from other states. There's no doubt. But the schools from teams that are nationally ranked, they have not only all that spring ball, they're playing 15, 16 games every year. Those are just more games, more in-season games that they're playing, that they have played their whole time versus our guys.
And those nationally ranked teams have got kids on the bench that got D1 offers.
Yeah. When you're talking, like the big teams are just, it's not, IMG's not even allowed to play anybody. So, look at, if you go back, you watch the show with the team out of Maryland, like the teams in Maryland just stopped playing them. They had to go play national schedule. The team that I was talking about out of Arizona, they'd won 7. He's got guys going all over the place, all over the Southwest. There's some really, really, obviously really good high school football all over the country. So,
what was that other one? Bishop something?
Bishop Gorman out of Vegas?
No, the fake football team. Out of Ohio. They were, I kid you not, they approached Jerry Smith.
They probably did.
They when they were looking for a team, Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember the story.
They tried
but with all that said, Coach Smith, they in the early 2000s when he had the Worthington kid who ended up playing for the Redskins and the Kendron kid who won the Connolly Cup. They were ranked, and that was back before everything was completely blew up on the internet. They were ranked in the Northeast, in the top 10 in the Northeast in the USA Today.
Yeah.
They beat Xavier out of Cincinnati. Like they were, so we can put it all together. You gotta get. In our area, you have to get some of those best kids have to be on the same team and at the same time, and things have to work out.
Yeah,
that's how you win championships.
Coach, we obviously love having you on here, and we appreciate you coming in. Before you go, I know you're very proud of that state championship, and we are too. Show off that ring. Show it off. No, right into that camera right there. Look at this bad boy. That's one of my favorites.
There you go. Bennett will have one soon, and they'll have.
Will it be as nice?
I'm sure they'll come up with a really nice design for the Tigers. I'm sure they will.
I'm sure Steve's got that one taken care of already.
I used to run a program called St. Paul's. and I think you guys took our logo. So I might have
It's
to have
tough,
a.
we're the Sparks,
I
so
know.
there's not anything specific, so we went with the SP for the school.
The ring is sparkling enough, so that's nice, and it's always a pleasure having you in. How's the family?
Good. Very excited for Christmas. I got a 7-year-old who's almost 8 and a 2-year-old, so they're waiting for Santa.
Now is your oldest. What's his name again?
Tim.
Another Tim? Is he
Tim.
still golfing? Because
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
tee. Does the first tee. Plays chess. Real. He's a real intellect. And then the little guy swings the club already too. So
Oh my gosh.
both lefties.
How many windows are broke at home?
None yet, but I'm sure that's coming at some point.
So you want a quick little story right here? I had just started traveling for work. Got my brand new TV, right? My middle son Jordan was all baseball, right? Well, he decides literally 3 days after I got that TV to take a marble, throw it up in the air, baseball bat, smashed my TV. 3 days into having a brand new one,
I'll
never
keep the
forget
baseball
it.
bats. I'll keep the baseball bats away.
And how do you reward Jordan? By taking him to the Bills game tonight. It's one of my favorites down at Binghamton.
Oh.
He hasn't met up with my niece yet, thank God. The two of them, I'm going to have a nice talk with Jordan. But he's got a nice girlfriend, right? Okay. All right, so that'll do it for Coach Tim Delaney, and our first hour here has come to a close. We're going to bring in Rich Kozak from Frontier in just a few moments. While we take a commercial break, we'll be back with boys soccer. You're watching WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
I love being home.
There's nothing better than owning the perfect house to come home to. You've earned it, and we'll make it happen. Our local real estate experts and in-house team of financial professionals make buying or selling your home simple. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
I love being home.
With exclusive buyer insights and our 100% money-back guarantee, we're confident we'll find buyers for your home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective pediatric care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Welcome back to WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday. I'm Frank Wolf, joined by Tom Prince, and that was a great first hour with Tim Delaney from South Park, and we got a couple comments coming in. See, I told you people were watching. The Bishop Sycamore, I guess they had a running back from West Seneca East. Thank you, Jason Austin, for pointing that out. And Roger's not able to join us today, but he's watching at home. And Roger, we love you. We miss you, and maybe we'll get you on either next week or the week after, depending on how things shake out. But we're going to be joined in just a moment by Rich Kozak, who's the head coach from Frontier FC. We really, nobody does soccer justice in this area. They get a couple of snippets here and there in the Buffalo News and other of the other publications, and it's not anyone's fault. There just isn't enough high school sports coverage in general. We know that. So we thought it was very important to at least get a year in review. Let's talk about boys soccer and what happened this past year. Who better to bring on to discuss that than Rich Kozak from Frontier? So I welcome in Rich Kozak from Frontier, who you can see joined on your screen right now. There he is.
Yeah, look at that. Well, maybe I shouldn't have started the holiday eating and celebration so much, but
listen,
we'll
Rich, you fit in real nice with our crew right here.
People used to say, Coach, you try to look like Pep Guardiola. Now they're like, you look like Brian Dable. So it's kind of like,
that's not a bad look. Dable's not a bad look.
I think we're owning that look here today. So, thank you very much. On behalf of the boys and girls soccer community in Western New York, there's so many people who for so many years, Todd Marquardt, our sectional leader, who puts just so much in. And again, Buffalo, and I've been at different levels of the media over the years, a teacher for over 30 years. There's just, when you're in and even though we're the 53rd or 54th biggest market in the United States, we're going up against every day against the Sabres, the Bills, periphery coverage of UB. I mean, and truthfully, where in even Section 5 with Rochester, even though they're big Bills and Sabres fans, people here care more what Josh, had for breakfast other than a kid who just ran, 100 miles to get ready for the season. So we appreciate everything you can do, and the parents, and I can't say it enough in this community. We're all in it together. The parents who, the early morning drives for every sport. Yeah. This is why we do it. And if we can give a little back, a little couple shout outs, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Coach, you're a Lackawanna boy.
Absolutely, Lackawanna strong.
Just talk about what was going through your mind as those Steelers were running through the playoffs.
Well, I'd love to say I played football for Lackawanna, but I was a longtime field goal kicker for Lackawanna.
Imagine that.
That's under Bill Picallo and Bill Moore and Nick Campoli back there, and 84 grad. And can I tell you, Adam Tardif and the boys from Lackawanna, it's been nearly 40 years since the steel plant left. This week before Christmas. And the city has been through some dark times. I was lucky enough to be the voice of the Steelers in their 4-year run from 97 into the early 2000s when they captured the first 2 state championships. And the amount of city pride that goes along and watching what Coach Tardif did with these boys, Billy Getchell at the helm, what it does, maybe on a smaller level, what the Bills do in Western New York, in Lackawanna, it makes the, sunny LA, makes the sunshine a little brighter even on a day like this. Yeah. So shout out to Coach Tardif. And, it's funny. I've been a teacher, worked in different areas, did some media. And the way it is, I'll walk down Ridge Road in Lackawanna, my parents are still there. And they're like, yo, what's up, Foot? Hey, Kick, how you doing? And it just never goes away. So what they say, once a Steeler, always a Steeler. And really those boys there, after having a couple tough years with Coach Tardif, he stuck with it. Losing the JV program, numbers were a program. we live in a society of immediate success.
Yeah.
And they bought in, that whole trust the process. Coach Tardif is going through the hallways at a time 3 years ago, making sure he's got enough to come in, only having enough guys to practice one side of the line. And then 3 years later, you guys believe me, hey, you're going to take your lumps here. And for 3 years later, for them to be just, one mistake away from bringing home another crowd. And listen, there's guys that still don't have to buy an adult beverage because of things they did 60 years ago. So these guys, when they become of age, they'll be well taken care of in the city of Lackawanna.
Very good. Yeah, they were fun to watch, and I'll tell you, I've said this a few times. Billy Getchell might have been the most confident quarterback I've seen of any football team we've covered since doing it. He was not overconfident. I don't want to say that.
No, he believed
but
in
just
himself.
He believed in himself. He believed in those around him, and his spirit was contagious on that team. You could tell.
And I think we talked about that. I was lucky enough, his 9th and 10th grade ELA teacher. And I'll admit, sorry folks, I take care of my Lackawanna boys when they come out to our BOCES P-Tech program. Shout out to P-Tech. And when he was there, I mean, he wore it on his sleeve. But, his dad before him being a great athlete there. But I think Coach Tardif and the other coaches were there, he learned how to be a leader. Maybe a bit more emotional earlier on because he had a heavy weight by 9th and 10th grade. He was a starting quarterback.
He did his game.
Yeah, and that football, soccer, now don't you wish you could play right now? The game, just by watching the games, how much it slows down for you. And unfortunately, a lot of times, because it is an honor to play at any level of collegiate sports, I think Newt Rockne said it in 1922 about his Notre Dame boys. We can say the same thing with our boys and girls in the Western New York area. Just when you start to learn to play the game, it's over.
We really believe that Getchell was probably one of the most improved players from junior year to senior year. 8 touchdowns to 28 touchdowns.
Absolutely. And I think it's up here.
Yep.
And the game slowed down for him. He understood. And you had a coaching staff that, hey, you're my ride or die guy. And the rest of the team buys in. And when you have like small, the guys the guys want to block for you. And the guys know you're going to get them the ball, so they're going to catch for you. And,
sure.
and shout out there. So, I know we're getting into that, but Lackawanna strong, Coach Tardif, Mr. Getchell, all the boys for Lackawanna. My heart's still there. And like you said, once a Steeler, always a Steeler. And again, thank you. Hey, we appreciate what we saw. And if anybody making some comments, LA boys will stay strong. And whoever takes over the reins there, it's a legacy program. And we're very proud of everything that went on.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get your thoughts on that. We do want to get into boys soccer, and I know you're the guy that kind of knows exactly what's going on. And shout out to Todd Marquardt, too. He's a fantastic chairman. We did some games with us this year, and you actually did some games, too.
It was so much fun.
Were you with Joe Krause?
Joe Krause,
yeah.
And oh my gosh, you come, just so much fun. And it was different to be in the analyst part because we're so used to, now more than ever, people are seeing the Premier League. You have so much more access to soccer at a higher level than we did even 3 or 4 years ago. So to have everyone out there and just how the kids know they're on. We may be streaming, but to them, with all the different devices they have, being on, it's on TV. So it's fantastic. Yeah, it was just a fun time. We did the finals in AA between Clarence and Williamsville North. What a game!
Yes.
Overtime, and then we did Portville and Holland, I believe. And shout out to Coach Gio Cambereri, what he did down in Holland, just resurrecting a 25-time ECIC championship from the depths to in 2 years making to the final. But J.J. McIntosh's Portville team, oh my gosh, talk about athletes. It's like they had 12, I'm expecting Holland to play with their European flair. J.J. comes out with 15 Roy Hobbses, Now they're playing soccer. They'll be playing basketball. They're all, and if you're a stud, you're a stud. Mikey Cole comes up there, and I'm like, he could have played at any level up in Buffalo. The whole town was out there. You see dads with signs. I felt bad. There was nobody left to trick or treat in Portville because they were all at the soccer finals. But it was a fantastic atmosphere, and I think you guys and everybody at West Seneca Marissa what they did to host, if we could have it at West Seneca every year, it was big time. It was rich stadium for football atmosphere. That's what they did for us.
At West Seneca East.
Yeah, West Seneca East and West. I was at East, but West Seneca East and West, and it was. I mean, Brian DeGlopper, he took the reins. He's the coach of the combined team out here, and he does just I'm going to say one hell of a job out there with his boys in the toughest division in Western New York, and it was just a great time. What a way to send these boys off. And Section 6 had a little bit more success than we had in recent years, so it was great.
Talk about some of those. I mean, we know the Section 6 winners. You had Clarence, Niagara Wheatfield, Newport, Lafayette, Newport, obviously, the overall in B, and then Portville, you had mentioned. Then Ellicottville, a great job by Coach Finn down there with Ellicottville. Again,
people, if you look at what a school, and let's not forget about the small schools. I mean, they're a little bit further away, but they're still Western New York strong. Ellicottville, you're in the same building from pre-K to 12. All right, what Coach Finn does, they don't have, though some of the players may get to go to play at a very high, expensive premier level, they have to, similar to what we do at Frontier, do everything in-house. And not only do you have to coach the game, you have to teach the game. You have to bring in a passion to the game. And the Eagles in Ellicottville, if you've ever been in Ellicottville for a high school game, or Salamanca on a Friday night lights, there's nothing like it. It's like a Disney movie, and that's the excitement they bring every game. And for people who don't know how tough it is, and you hear the jokes about soccer. We play 16 games in relatively 5.5 weeks. It's definitely a war of attrition. At times, even the best teams, talking to Coach Gates down in Clarence, Coach Chapa down Williamsville East, Gallo at Lancaster, the kids are just beat up. If we even had one more week just to rest kids. But that's not a complaint. What every single one of these coaches do to get what they can out of the kids in such a short amount of time, kudos to them. And you look at Niagara Wheatfield, Coach Butcher, for Grand Island. They got hot at the end. What an incredible coach he is. Rick Sweeney, can you say anything more about him at Newport? Newport is an athletic factory. It doesn't matter if it's cross country, bowling, golf. And again, it's building a culture. And that culture bleeds down to every sport because you want to wear your school colors. And that's what we try to do at Frontier, too. So, shout out to just some amazing coaches. And, Newport made it to the end. Clarence was fantastic. Niagara Wheatfield. You look at, Lafayette, Brad Brubnicki. My wife's shout out 1988 grad at Lafayette. What they have to do and just the challenges of the inner city. They have... In Lafayette, you're speaking 30 different languages in one school.
Yeah.
So not alone coach a team, become a team with that, and it's a sense of community pride. And, they may call them the Generals, but they're Mighty Violets, old Harvard Cup stuff at heart. So shout out to those guys, yeah.
From a coaching standpoint, okay, you could talk about Frontier ad nauseum. But talk about some of those teams that you faced and some of the players that really impressed you this past year. Who's moving on? Anybody playing at the D1 level? And who's coming back that we should get excited about?
Well, you know what? You look here, our player of the year, Tyler Cole from Lancaster. He's going to be going playing at St. Bonaventure. Unlike football, where defensive players, just because of the nature of the game, they're on the spot playing the best players on offense. So you're going to call a few names. I don't think Tyler Cole got enough credit until the end of the year. And we have a great bunch of coaches when we put our year-end accolades to make sure, just because on the periphery, look who had goals, and you don't see the games. If it wasn't for you guys, people might not see any games if they didn't go out. So he'll go up. Jay Gisario from Williamsville East, he's going to play at Niagara, I believe. So, and you have to realize, and a cautionary tale, because I was one of those parents. I still am. My daughter plays at the premier level. My son played it before he went and spent a few years before COVID at Mercyhurst. Folks, there's only 9.9 scholarships for soccer at the D1 and D2 level, 9 or 9.9. Academics is the way to go. And if you can do anything else, and you've been given a talent where you have parents who can nurture it, be able to provide it, that's the best way to go. And to be a great person and to be a great leader, that's the best thing. And I think what we see with all the coaches, because believe it or not, just like we used to do back in the day, we get a hold of each other. We're friends on and off the field. We battle while we're on there. And this whole thing, we want to support all the kids that we can in Western New York, whether they play for me or not. You know, I'm talking to Coach Gates. I'm talking to Coach Daniker, DeGlopper, Gallo, Coach Lamastra from Williamsville North. We are on the phone texting and calling, giving each other, hey, maybe your kid can play here. Can he fit in here? Does this kid need a team? We see each other, and then we've watched our own kids grow up. And really, that's a community. Same thing, like I said, Coach Chiappa, Coach Lawler over at West Williamsville South. Bjorn Webb, my former JV coach, he went and he goes over to Hamburg, and he turns that program, keeps them in the top 10 in Western New York. He's a defensive genius. I love it. And, you know, you lose 1-0 in double overtime to those guys, but you lose 1-0 to a kid, you were their coach at U6.
Okay.
So it's a community thing. Is it, would I like to win more? Yeah. Do I want to take this opportunity at AAA to blow up the divisions and make them more equitable? Yeah. But when it comes down to it, it's about being good guys, community leaders, good coaches, and I think we're blessed to have that in Western New York.
Talk about the relationship between those premier leagues and the high school, because I know in other sports there's not always that warm and fuzzy relationship.
Oh, absolutely not.
So
especially,
how is it with soccer?
It's become, there's more and more animus at times in between it. You can read some of our soccer,
Boards
social media
yeah.
leader. I mean, we have an incredibly, and maybe not the best season for workload. And then, for whatever reason, you're playing your Premier League schedule, having a kid play on Sunday and practicing while he's practicing Monday through Friday, maybe 2 or 3 games in a Saturday, and on a day of rest, you're running a team because it's a business. It's money there. And, we don't have a promotion relegation where, I was lucky enough, we had a player that went to Eastern Europe to play, and he came back and he said it's a totally different situation because the teams build, not the parents building. And we really, if you can pay for it, and I don't want to say pay to play because it's the same in AAU basketball, softball, baseball, and soccer's the same. It's a boutique sport. And what happens is, if you are a privileged, and I don't want to, privilege is not a bad word. If you're lucky enough to be comfortable to drop $3,000 to $10,000 on your kid, parents become season ticket holders. Premier teams become owners, in a sense, and there's only so much of the kids to go around.
Yep.
And really, again, if I could, with kids who've gone through it, I wish I would have been able to not get so wrapped up into it and enjoy it while it's happening.
Does it water down the talent at the high school level by playing so much?
I think it puts an undue workload on the athlete and undue pressure on parents who have that FOMO, that fear of missing out, who are throwing dollars. And again, did I do it? Listen, I'm going to put out, I did it for my kids. And then was it what's for? Not because they weren't successful or we didn't win games at the high school level. It's like, what are we doing? All right. And, when I broadcast, I was lucky enough to broadcast with Art Cerati, longtime Grover coach, basketball and football, numerous Hall of Fames. And he said, in the long run, make them good dads, good fathers, good future coaches. That's the most important thing. But I think it's getting crazy in every sport what we're doing. And, and there's, I don't want to use the R word, recruiting. Some of the premier teams, they see these kids all the time and they're pushing them to different schools. Yeah. But, that's a different story for another time. When they're here, these kids giving it all out. There's one thing, try to find me a score from a premier team online right now. Try to find me, other than the team's name, a kid that scored a hat trick this weekend. I know college coaches look down at the high school game at times, but you know what? Like, we used to have refrigerator magnets, putting newspaper clippings. They do it with social media. So they do theirs, we do ours, and hopefully we come out in between somewhere.
Tom, you had a question?
Syracuse just wins the national championship,
Abdi.
right?
Abdi, my man.
So that has to bring some sort of eyeballs more here to Western New York, right?
Yeah, you think it would, and this is a big pet peeve of mine, right? Because if you would look at the rosters of where they come from, the kids in American soccer, you'll see teams 75, 80% internationals. I was laughing with one of the coaches, one of the officials I teach with, and he's like, Rich, there are more receding hairlines in the NCAA championship than there are in the World Cup. Because they're coming out now. Does this happen? Yeah, diamonds in the rough. Look what happened with like Joe Mack in baseball. All of a sudden, listen, who's the guy behind Joe Mack? Because you got to be pretty good to be behind a player like that. And that's what happened before. Same thing happened when you look at the Koch brothers in basketball back in the 60s and 70s. Ricky Williams working in basketball. Once it's the diamond in the rough. They tend to make eyes come here. Talk about Cerati again. He said about at the time there was a lull in football recruiting, and he said, "Listen, if you're good, it doesn't matter if you're in the bayou underneath 12 alligators in a swamp. They'll find you, but it helps to have someone point you in the right direction."
Right, and that's what I mean because you're right, but that's the diamond in the rough that they're going to find, right? Mm-hmm. This is just sometimes having more eyeballs on games and what's going on in Western New York, so that there are more opportunities, right? Does the kid that's going to Niagara or Canisius, right, now get looks at Syracuse or Marist or whatever school you want to throw out here? Does it just open up the eyeballs of what's happening here?
And it should. And in a perfect world, but soccer is starting to fall into what's happening with the transfer portal. Looking now in football
school, yeah.
and every school.
Yeah.
So listen, you have college coaches, that is their livelihood. And I can't say anything negative because my son has played for some amazing college coaches. I've got to know them in the recruiting process. Their livelihood depends on that. So if you only have a limited amount of time, what do? Do you go get the ready-made player, or you look at some of the rosters, D2, there's 27, 28, 29-year-old sophomores.
Wow.
Playing against an 18-year-old kid. You're a coach who has to pay a mortgage. What do? But if you know that it's a factory and there's some good stuff here, and the more success we have, and you'll have Chris come in and talk about the girls' side, there is a plethora, a relative cornucopia of talent out here. We just got to get them promoted, and that's what we do with social media. And a lot of the onus it comes on, social media, social department. That's how they found our one player from Europe. They saw a video we posted, had a Polish last name, and do you have any more? What you can see. So you never know where. But a player like Abdi, what a great story. What a great guy. You want to talk about funny car rides to drive around the country with him. That family, his brother, the same. They've all worked that community too. Reminds me a lot like Abdul Noman Salam in the Lackawanna community. They are groundwork. It is patch heart on the sleeve, patch over the heart. And from the ground floor, they build a culture more than just much team. So, listen, you can find colleges just through Lackawanna. Clarence could fill a whole team. Trust me. And, we're here, and it's not you have to hope anymore. The kids are ready for the picking.
What's your favorite place to play a game? What's the best venue for boys soccer in Western New York High School?
We could play at All High all the time. Oh, my gosh. If we could go into All High and what they do for FC Buffalo when they're with the drums, and when the kids walk in and it's a stadium and you can walk out the tunnel. Listen, I can remember my very first game. I was young in War Memorial. My grandfather had taken me to a game in the late 60s before, and I'll never forget how War Memorial smelled. We won't talk about that. If you've been to New York City, maybe you know what that smell is. All right? But just walking, and the first time you see the green grass, and the first time you walk out that tunnel, I mean, All High with the new turf on it, and you just have Bennett High School in the back, and it's a stadium. It feels great. Atmosphere though, I don't know, nothing like playing home. We do it pretty good. I mean, we try to bring Friday Night Lights there. But I just think for an atmosphere when there's there, if I could be a player and do it all over again, bring my team, I'd love to play at All High.
I'll tell you what, Coach. I know we don't do enough for soccer in general. Tom and I recognize that because we're not soccer guys. We'll admit we don't know soccer the way most do, but we do want to make the commitment to the soccer community that we will be out next year dedicating at least one night per fall season to boys soccer, and then we'll do another night just for girls. So we do want to make that commitment to you guys that we will be out. We can't promise every game will be on WNYA Athletics. There's a possibility we may have to put a game or two on that NFHS network, but we will be there. We will make that commitment, and we're trying to get a weekly soccer magazine that highlights, just like we did for football this past year. We do want to do that for soccer. We're just looking for help from the local business community. Hopefully they can back us up like so many others have stepped up the last couple of weeks already. But we want to be a part of the soccer community. We want to make sure that they know that we're not forgetting about them. We just haven't had the resources to do it justice.
And we've had conversation between us many times. What I used to do almost now 25 years ago with the city schools, it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. And once one business job drops on, or somebody knows they're there, or the word of mouth goes, it's like a snowball going out. On a day like today, a huge snowball going down the hill. But thank you. There's so many kids that deserve it. I mean, I look at, I'm just thinking about, we have a kid, Mohammed Shimi. He came in from Egypt. He was our leading scorer. It was his first time he's ever seen snow. I know the kid lived 45 minutes from the pyramids. He's never seen snow before. This is a big deal. I'm like, just wait, right? And, he comes here, he's like, it's just a totally different flavor.
Yeah.
And to bring that and to get some recognition, you have to understand the pecking order. It's a community thing, but if you look at Rochester, what the Rochester DNC used to do, I mean, there are now, and you get this in places like Clarence, Niagara, Wheatfield, all the Williamsville schools. Some of the players that are playing soccer are third or fourth generation soccer players. I've been involved.
You can tell the names are similar.
Yes, right. My coaching staff, Mike Chifo, Maria Worthling, former Player of the Year, Brandon Galani. All right, we go out there, and a lot of times Mike's with the Lakeview Athletic Association. Okay. Parents are still bringing first-generation soccer players. The kid played out on the video game. He saw it on TV. He's 4 years old. They're wearing shin guards outside their socks. They've never done it, so it becomes a process. And that's what we're trying to do down south. It's a tough road. There's some legacy programs out there, but no matter, like I said earlier, we're combatants on the field, but every single one of us that coaches wants the best for the Western New York soccer community. And, we just had our banquet over in Niagara Falls, and, it was prideful. And to see these kids and all teams, I don't think there's anyone in Western New York that in the high school game that doesn't do it for the kids.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I know we didn't have enough time today. I do appreciate Leach coming in. Before we go into Chris, is there a parting shot or something from the past season that you wanted to speak about that maybe needs some attention?
Well, there's a couple things. Number one, watch out for Frontier next year. We only had one starting senior, 7 one-goal losses, learning to win here. Only one loss to a team outside the top 10. Give a shout-out to, before Chris gets in here, Frontier girls, Clarence, class program. They lost 3 times, 1-0. Only 1 goal given up in 300 minutes of infield play. Bailey Cowling, Abby Simkowiak, Ava Kozak, Coach Boers, way to go. But last thing, I think, and this is a pet peeve, and I brought it up to some ADs of ours. We talked about the boutique sports. Go through the last 15 years of soccer, baseball, girls softball, good basketball. You look at those top 10s, where are the schools coming from? It's an economic situation right now. I have an idea coming up that now that we've brought in a AAA division, and I heard Coach talking about that before we get in there, soccer hasn't really changed divisions where football, lacrosse, they're changing all the time. Can we bring in some equity among school size, records over the last 3 or 4 years, and an economic principle based on free and reduced lunches? Because we have some programs with some of the best coaches in Western New York. They've only had 3 wins, 1 win, 2 wins. They're trying to fill rosters. We've lost more JV teams because it's very hard to sign up for a sport you know you're not going to be successful. So let's bring some equity into this. Let teams who might be a little bigger work their ways up. It doesn't have to be a true promotion relegation. We're all going to meet in the playoffs. It evens itself out.
Yeah.
But let's make for the best scholastic sports experience that we can. We have the Buffalo Public Schools, the Southern Tier Schools, Niagara Frontier League, the Buffalo School League, and it's all over the place. You meet in the playoffs. If we could find a way to reorganize to make, and it's not sour grapes. Oh, you don't win, try better, be better, do it. Sometimes, and not mine, where I'm in the middle, have their own resources. Let's bring some equity, financial, numbers-wise, to this game. Maybe we'll start it for soccer, but instead of complaining about the new divisions, let's work with it and do something special for the kids, because it could be something that lasts for the next 20 years. Yeah. So, but thank you for all your support, all our parents, everyone in Western New York, all divisions, and thank you guys. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and thanks for everything. It was really great to be here.
Rich, we got to do this more often, and I know you used to do some stuff with Tony at GR High School Sports, so that's one of the reasons why, another one of those selfish reasons why we wanted you to bring in today, just to finally actually meet you, because we've been talking, but we've never actually met. Yeah. But I want to get you more involved with what we're doing, because I know you're a very good play-by-play guy in his own right. So we're hoping to continue that on, and we'll do some more things together. And you, of course, have a great holiday, and pleasure having you on today.
Oh, and shout out Roger Weiss. Roger, we love you. Wish you could have been here, but it was treacherous driving up. And folks, if you've talked at length, Roger, probably the biggest advocate for all levels of high school sports, but especially on the rural and the female side. Roger, we love you. Get better. We're going to be, right here we're saying it, first Frontier game on the new field. Roger and I, we're going to christen it with a broadcast. We'll do girls fast pitch for Coach Maria. Raj, you're on. Don't you go anywhere. All right. Love you. Thanks.
All right. Rich Krozak, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to come back in just a little bit with Chris Durr, girls soccer. You're watching WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses, and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com, ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. A few clicks will show you the sales price you can expect for your home. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. So if it's time to sell your home, visit howardhanna.com today, and we'll match you with a local Howard Hanna agent to sell your home fast.
Being home.
If you've been injured in an auto accident, large or small, call 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab right away. If you are in pain or just sore, don't take chances. Call RES today and take advantage of their 24 to 48-hour appointment pledge. With no copays, RES will help navigate the confusing world of no-fault insurance with you, so you can concentrate on getting better. 681-4088. RES Physical Medicine and Rehab. The most important call you can make after an auto accident.
300 Level Media is a locally owned and operated, multi-purpose media company right here in Western New York. You'll find us everywhere, covering the Bills, Sabres, Buttes, Bisons, Big Four basketball, local college sports, and much more. Our staff offers a variety of media services, from video production, live event coverage, audio broadcasts, professional voiceovers, camera operation, and videography. Visit www.300levelmedia.com or give us a call at 716-427-2600. This is 300 Level Media.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
When it's time to sell your home, start with a visit to howardhanna.com. Ranked the #1 real estate site for sellers. We can get you the most money in the quickest amount of time because we know where the local buyers are and how to reach them. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
What do you mean we're on? Are you sure we're on? We are on. Welcome back to WNYA High School Sports Saturday. I'm a goofball. Frank Wolf, Tom Prince, and now Chris Durr is going to join us in just a few seconds to talk about girls soccer. We just had Rich Kozak in, and earlier today we had Tim Delaney in from South Park to do a little bit of a football year in review. But we want to make sure we got the soccer in because we didn't do really enough of that towards the end of the year. I know that the all Western New York teams were out, and but I thought it would be important to get Chris in here. He is the girls soccer chairman for the ladies, and who knows girls soccer better than him? I don't know of too many people. So, Chris, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Girls soccer, the highs and the lows. Who are our sectional champions, and what was the takeaway from this season?
Well, I think the first thing is it was great to be back and have a full season and go through everything that we could go through to crown sectional champions and move on, through regionals and states. So it was a great season. Weather-wise, I think we played in one rain day.
Wow.
One game the whole year in rain. So that was amazing to be able to have a full season where we had great weather. We were in shorts and T-shirts on regional weekend, right, in November, so that was good. And then now we've got this that we have today and for the Bills game tonight. So, but takeaways from that, it's great to be back, and it's great for kids to be able to experience the opportunities of moving on just past sectionals.
Of course, not just the chairman, but Chris is also very highly successful coach in his own right when his days with Will East. Correct me if I'm wrong, you were approaching, was it 400 wins?
Yeah.
I'm not too far off.
Yeah.
Less than a handful. Incredible. We're not going to get into that because I don't want the show canceled before it even starts. But Chris was a phenomenal girls soccer coach.
But he's a coach still.
Yeah. So yes, because now you're assistant over at Clarence.
Yeah, I had this isn't about me, but I had the great fortune of Matt Andrews, the head coach at Clarence, reaching out and
cool.
Basically, having some discussions about coming over and being the assistant coach on their varsity team. So it's like my career has come full circle because I started coached, played at Clarence, coached there for a couple of years during the college years, and then left there and got hired in Williamsville, and then now I'm back coaching at my alma mater. So that was something that was really special, and a great group of kids that kind of took me under their wing. It took me about 6 weeks to learn names, because I knew no one. Actually, I knew one player before starting that. So it was a great experience, and Clarence did, it was a great job.
Do you anticipate doing it next year?
Well, I hope they'll have me back. I anticipate going back.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just amazing experience, and I think it's unique in that you get to coach and you work with somebody that you get along with and have the same philosophies about which you know,
That
Matt
helps.
Andrews is. That helps. And then for them, the whole program and the whole school, you know, program to welcome me in, you know, back to my alma mater was special too. So.
You're not just the Section 6 chairman for soccer. You're also the Section 6 chairman for girls basketball, which we'll talk about in the coming weeks. You're also an official.
Yeah, basketball official.
Have
yeah.
you been out on the court so far this
yeah.
year?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
I've been at about 10 games so far.
No
so
kidding.
It's
Wow.
been fun. Well, you know, it's a tough schedule, and you know, as you know, everybody says we need officials. So guys that are willing to work are going to work. If you're open, you got a game. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe in the spring I'll go back to umpiring and do some games out there. So
All right.
You never know. I umpired for 25 years before you know, coaching.
You have a night off? Is there a night off?
Yeah, not many nights off. A lot of driving.
I'm sure. So Section 6, and if you could speak at all about even the private schools, how did we do on a statewide scale, would you say? How is the soccer in Western New York?
Well, I mean, I can start with the Catholic schools. You know, we had St. Mary's of Lancaster reach the Catholic state final. You know, they lost in the state final. I don't remember what the score was, but, you know, just another outstanding year by St. Mary's of Lancaster. Narden was very competitive. Linda Allmark from Narden was named Class B Player of the Year for the entire state of New York. So that's impressive. She's just an amazing player. Obviously, close to my heart. You know, we did something that no AA school has ever done, in Section 6, and that was make it to a state championship game. But we ran up against one of the best soccer teams I think I've ever seen, and you know, that was a great run because I think coming in, you know, you never know what kind of team you're going to have when you lose a lot of players. But Clarence, you know, has been a perennial favorite for a number of years. So, you know, that was a special time. We had, you know, 4 other teams obviously make it to regionals. Williams-Elise lost in regionals, but had an outstanding season, won the sectional title. You know, Newport also made it to regionals. They also lost.
Boys and girls.
Yeah, boys and girls made it to regionals, yeah. And then Frewsburg, who's been in the regionals for the last few years, made it in Class C. And then Ellicottville again was in the regionals for Class D. So those were your sectional champions, and you know, we only had one crossover this year in B. A was not a crossover, so it was one class. So I just mentioned that you know, Fredonia also won a sectional title in the B2s.
Just to give you that score was 6-0 against St. Anthony's in the state finals for St. Mary's. So just so we can give everybody exactly what the score
Yeah,
is.
just tells you how strong some of those Long Island and New York City schools are in the Catholics.
Now, your team in particular, Clarence, if I remember correctly, you guys played a couple of non-leaguers to start. One was a Section 5 team, and then I think a Section 3 team.
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot now with my memory. That's one of the
But
things
you won
that
both
goes.
games.
But yeah, we won both games. We played Baldwinsville from Section 3. They were the Section 3 champs last year, and then we played Penfield, who was the Section 5 champion in AA last year. And we thought that we would end up meeting Penfield, but they got beat by Webster Schrader,
Who you did play.
Who we did play at beat.
So you had you had to have had an inkling then early on that you had a special team.
Yeah, I mean, me coming, I mean, I know Matt probably thought that. Me
Okay.
coming in, I didn't know. You know, I knew they had lost some really, really good players from the previous year. But you know, it was, for me, it was just, it seemed like a great group of kids from day one.
Yeah.
And, you know, here's this guy that they don't know. Of course, some of them shook my hand at sectional finals and whatever when I'm handing out awards, but they don't know me from Boo. So for them to accept me right away was you know, special for me. But you know, great year. I mean, I'm proud to be a part of it. It was a special season with a, you know, special team.
What was so AA?
Yeah, AA.
Who are some of the players coming back? Not just at Clarence, but some of the other schools. Or forget about coming back. Let's talk about the girls that had exceptional seasons. Let's remember who they are. Who are
in
going to move
AA?
in. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, the interesting thing is that Kaylee O'Brien for Clarence was named Co-Player of the Year along with Ella Rudney from Grand Island. You know, we've got some. Obviously, Lancaster has has some. I think they have 15 returning players for next year, so they'll be very, very strong in AA. Of course, they'll be in AAA next year, which I'm sure we'll get to when we talk a little bit about the future. But just a number of players that in that classification. I know Abby Simkowiak, who I think Rich had mentioned before, from Frontier, was also first team All Western New York, and a number of players from Williamsville North and Frontier and Lancaster made second team. So, a great group of schools there.
And how about, what does that say when you named Grand Island, right, Ella, as the player of the year? When you looked at that NFL conference this year, and how strong that NFL conference is with other players that were in there,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, you've got Sophie Auer from Newport, and Grand Island's always had another, basically, I think Rich said it, legacy program, one of those programs that's always competitive. And, Ella's going to Nebraska, which is outstanding. So she was, certainly, deserving of that co-player of the year standing. But you're right that, a lot of the conferences, when I look at ECIC 1 this year, it was a tough, I think a lot of our games were 1-0, 2-1, a lot of one-goal games. As Rich said, 3 with Frontier, in the playoffs, 2 with Lancaster. That's a tough classification.
Well, you look at Clarence and Lancaster, obviously was the cream of the crop right there, right? When you look at 19-2 for Clarence, you got 12-6 for Lancaster. But just to go back to that conference real quick, Niagara Wheatfield 14-2-1, Lewiston Porter 14-5, North Tonawanda 11-3, Grand Island 10-8. How strong was that right there when you look at a conference?
Yeah, and I left Wheatfield out, but they played Williamsville East in the sectional championship for Class A and lost 1-0.
Yeah,
in a very close game.
And if you remember the sectional final we were at together, in fact, Lewiston Porter just dominated. Remember they Fredonia's who they played in that one, and it was 7. Oh, I mean, it was it was nonstop goals in that game.
Yeah, and Newport's had a great run the last 2 years. They were in the state championship game last year and unfortunately lost that game, and then was close in this year in regionals, and they've had a great run over the last 4 years out of the NFL.
Goaltending wise.
Yeah, goaltending wise, obviously, we had Abby that I mentioned earlier from Frontier, and she really, I thought even didn't give up a lot of goals against, but just made save after save in our 3 games that we played against them. And I know she came out of ECIC 1 as one of the top goalkeepers. We also had 2 goalkeepers on the second team, All West New York, and they were also both seniors. Emily McLeod from Clarence, and then Kelsey Sorensen from Amherst. And then we had 2 goalkeepers, both seniors, honorable mention, Jordan Brown from West Seneca West and Ava Perks from City Honors, who are also honorable mention goalkeepers. So all senior goalkeepers. My recollection is there's a few out there, good young goalkeepers. Olivia Shaman, who will be a junior at Williamsville East, very talented. Other than that, I'm, on the spot here a little with who the goalkeepers are around the area that are coming back as underclassmen, but some really good ones out there.
Yeah. So we know that there's, like baseball, you've got those clinics that kids can practice year round, and some of them play travel, and maybe they go away during the winter and play with some travel teams in the warmer weather. It's like with soccer, you guys have those premier leagues that Rich was talking about that we know about. Do they have like these little, I'll call them soccer factories, where it's out of season, where they're going just to work on individual skills? Do they have those?
I'm not so sure that, a lot of the kids are playing more now.
Okay.
I know a couple of students of mine are leaving this weekend, or gone this weekend for tournaments in Florida and California and various things. So they're playing all year round.
Okay.
And I think it's one of the things that may have, maybe hurting some other sports that the kids are specializing in one sport. And so you don't see the 3-sport athlete much anymore. And, I think it certainly helped soccer. Players that I've had over the years that have played one sport. But I think back to a player that I had in Marissa Berzon, who went to Ohio State. As a freshman, she was my second best player on my varsity softball team. And as an eighth and ninth grader, she was the best player on our JV basketball team. Oh. So just athletic-wise, but the schedule became too difficult for her to keep up the three sports. But again, it's helped soccer, maybe to the detriment of some other sports where those kids are feeling like they have to play all year round in order to compete.
To add on to that, isn't that pretty much how Salins came about? Oh, you know what I mean? Over in that, in the Alma area.
Yeah, I believe originally Joe Salem started that place to give kids a place to play. His daughter was a player at Iroquois, a very successful player, and he had the resources obviously to do something, and that's originally where it happened. Is we need to give these soccer players an opportunity to play year round indoors, and play more together. That's where that came from. Yeah,
that's an incredible facility.
I mean, a long time ago.
Oh, sure.
That happened.
And it still is. I mean,
yeah.
it's soccer first. Obviously, softball goes over there.
Yep.
Football teams go over there, right? Yep. Obviously, we got more that goes over there.
Mm-hmm.
But the premise of what that was built was for the answer that you just had right there for to get soccer players more prevalent.
And the kids are training on their own, obviously, and they're playing. But predominantly they're playing with their rush, flash teams, various different travel programs.
You mentioned the 3-sport athlete. You'll be hard pressed to find a more complete athlete than that Sophie Auer from Newport. She's
amazing, and it proves. But I think she's going to college for basketball, I believe.
Yes,
she's great.
Locally too.
Yeah, but it proves that if you're athletic, and you still can do it. You still can survive at a high level and play, 2 or 3 sports and still give enough to each sport to be successful.
And Chris, you get calls from college coaches constantly, right? In all the roles that you've had, I know you have. Talk to me about, this player, that player. Am I correct? They want to know what other sports does this young woman play?
Yeah, in the years that I've had players from softball, basketball, soccer recruited, I can think back to 2 basketball players who ended up going to West Point and the Naval Academy in back-to-back years. Both those coaches came to watch them play volleyball and play and run track. They knew what type of players they were on the basketball court. They wanted to see what type of players they were when they weren't playing their first sport, maybe when they weren't as comfortable, maybe where they're not the dominant player, maybe where they're just a athlete on the team, right? They're maybe not the best volleyball player, maybe they're the 3rd best volleyball. How do they react, right? So they want to see them in situations where
uncomfortable situations.
Where either uncomfortable or just not what they're naturally used to doing.
Athletes figure out a way, and they want to see them figure out a way in uncomfortable circumstances that will happen when they get to the college
Hanson
level.
Lawrence at North Carolina said one of the problems with soccer now is that kids aren't playing basketball. They don't know how to play defense. They don't know how to defend. And over the years, he's had a lot of players who've also played basketball, and they've been successful because it's very similar. If you're playing a zone defense, and you're not man marking in soccer, it's very similar. And so he's actually said that out loud. But they want athletes because they can work the amount of time they spend with kids compared to what we get with them as high school coaches. They spend a ton of time with them.
So can we also say they don't do the same thing in the NBA or the WNBA anymore?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, the days, most kids that are playing at a high level are not being recruited off their high school teams anymore. So what are we working on? We're working on that mid-level.
Yes.
That mid-level player, one of the reasons why we love the website, we're promoting our kids. It's not that kid that's going to go, for instance, from soccer to North Carolina, UCLA, those types of things. It's the kid that might want to go to a smaller level D1, D2, may want to play at Buff State, may want to play at Fredonia, or even a junior college program. Those coaches are out there trying to recruit those kids too, and if it can get a player into college, can help them get into college if they need that help. That's what we're looking for.
I want to take a real quick break. I want to come back to follow up with girls soccer, but why don't we take just a quick 30-second break, hear from one of our sponsors. We'll be back with Chris Durr, the girls Section 6 soccer chairman for the ladies. Frank Wolf, Tom Prince will be back in a moment.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
We realize now more than ever is the perfect time to have the perfect house. We're confident we'll find your dream home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
We're back on the WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday Show with Frank Wolf and Tom Prince. We're in the middle of girls soccer, kind of like a year in review atmosphere. We've got Chris Durr, the chairman from Section 6 girls soccer, and it's a completion of a successful season for a lot of teams, players and coaches alike. They recently held their banquet along with the boys. I think it was together.
Yes.
And Chris and a new award came about in honor of a late great coach from Williamsville South. Why don't you talk to us about that one?
So first of all, it was wonderful to bring the banquet back after 3 years of not doing it, and it's amazing to see. I think we only had 2 or 3 players from around Section 6 not attend the banquet.
Wow.
For various different things. So I think we almost had 300 people there at the banquet. So it's great to bring back. It's great for the athletes to be recognized with their parents and their coaches, and so it's wonderful. And Todd Marquardt, my assistant chair, Joanna Files from Amherst, does a lot of work on that. Todd obviously does a ton of work, so credit to them, for bringing it back, and the people that sponsor that as well. But yeah, we lost Kevin McNamara, Williamsville South coach, in August to over a year-long battle with cancer, and we as a committee, as a Section 6 committee, as well as the All West New York committee, wanted to do something to recognize him. So we created the Coach McNamara, Coach Mac Coach of the Year award that'll be given out at the banquet for the Coach of the Year that exemplifies leadership, sportsmanship, passion for the game of soccer, and we also are looking into starting a college scholarship, because one of the things that Mac loved doing was recognizing players no matter where they played, especially girls soccer players. And he had a very successful one in Carissa McCatrona, who was his assistant, and then just got back from playing overseas.
And I believe that's Paul's daughter.
Yeah, and
who has
Paul
done a
works
bunch
for
of,
Paul works for you guys.
Yeah.
He does a lot of the color commentary. So it was very special for us as longtime friends to be able to create that award for him. So we're looking forward to carrying on his legacy with that award for the Coach of the Year.
Nice. Very nice, and it's it's a great way to recognize coaches, and in a special honor. I never got to really get to know Coach McNamara other than maybe seeing him at a game, sectional, or something along those lines. I never really got a chance to meet him, but Stu is always spoke glowingly of Coach McNamara, as did Paul. So it's amazing, and it's got to be similar to what we kind of went through with the loss of. Dick Gallagher and Dennis Serrell over the last year and a half, and Miggy. We've lost a lot of really good cornerstones of specific sports, high school sports in general, and Coach McNamara, what he did with girls soccer over there is.
And I told his daughter and his wife Sherry and his 2 daughters, when I saw them at the wake, they wanted funny stories. funny stories. And of course, we had coached against each other for 25 years, and always either in playoffs if we weren't in the same division, or if we were. And that's the way we want to remember him, was all the funny stories that we used to have. And we used to have this little saying of grace, be nice all the time, because the first couple of years it was contentious, Williamsville East, Williamsville South, right? And I think Rich was talking about how contentious those things, and finally as I matured and we matured in our competition, we realized, listen, it's not about us. The kids are always going to battle, but we're going to play golf, we're going to see each other outside the season. And the kids were always, I told Sherry, his wife, that the kids were always shocked when I came up and he gave me a hug, or you talked to him? What? He's at the opposing school. You can't do that. So it's always fun when the kids find out what friends and what coaches do outside of when they're on the field.
A show of sportsmanship.
Yes. Show the kids that there's a lot bigger things than just the sport.
We're here to win, but at the same time, we have teachable moments, life lessons are learned here.
We're an extension of the classroom. I've always believed that. So if I'm not going to do something in the classroom, then I'm not going to do it on the athletic field. And I don't think the kids should be. I think the kids should be held to the same standard. So I always felt it was an extension of the academic day, and hopefully in my career that's what I've exemplified.
Yes.
So
I think it's we can all see that. So you gave out a new award. Who are some of the other award winners at your banquet this year?
Well, I think I mentioned the two players of the year. The coach of the year we gave to Coach McNamara this year, and his wife and Carissa were there. Jason Milne, who actually played for Mac and coached against him at City Honors, did the speech, because Joanna and I would have never been able to get up there in front of the group and talk about Mac. I talked about Mac in my Hall of Fame speech over the summer, and I couldn't get through it. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get through it. So Jason did an amazing job, and so we were able to have his wife there and videotape it for his daughter and present it and send that to her, because both daughters live out of town. So so it was amazing. So
wait a second, how was the food at the banquet?
Oh, well,
I got to ask for Roger. Roger says hello. He's listening. And
okay. Well,
and you got to talk about that, right?
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't be a show without talking about food.
Right. Yeah. Well, we didn't have any garbage plates, so if Roger's listening, I know he always tried to find the best garbage plate.
Well, we'd have to be driving to Rochester, because that's a stop in Rochester.
That's right. So also, I know Rich extended his thoughts about Roger. Roger has been an amazing advocate for women's sports just nonstop on the Inside High School Sports Show. Nonstop out there, and we wish him recovery and speedy recovery and all good health, because he also in the same lines of legendary status when it comes to
being around high school
sports and covering and not a full-time job, not a paid job, just doing it for the love of the game and the love of recognizing kids, which is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
but some of the other award winners then.
The Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, those are basically our two awards that we give out at the banquet. We also give out a Referee of the Year award.
Who got that?
Which was Southern Tier. I can't remember. He went to States. I can't remember.
Okay. We had two for the football this past weekend. We had a North County and a South County. Because I believe they're like two separate organizations.
Mm-hmm.
So is that how it is with soccer too?
Well, soccer, there's two, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's two organizations, and so we decided to give it to the one official who was going to States for us.
Nice.
So now I'm embarrassed that I don't remember what it was, but it was such a long time ago. It was at least a month ago.
Yeah.
In baseball and softball, it's 3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Basketball's 3 as well.
Yeah.
Boys. And our girls basketball is 3 as well. Boys, I think.
One question I did want to ask you: towards the end of the season, you start seeing this team opts out of playoffs. Mm-hmm. Why is that?
Well, a number of different factors go into that. That's an option that they started when they started allowing everybody in.
Okay.
When I first started my coaching career here, it was 500 record. And so you were trying to do everything you could to get to that 500 record, whether it be, 6-6 or 5-7-1, or you know, depending on how many points you would get. So it's an option for those teams who feel like they have had a number of injuries. They have had things happen during their season that they feel like it's just not for them to do one extra game. And that happens on, I think more on the girls' side than the boys' side, especially in soccer and basketball and softball.
Yeah.
Do you want to play a game? Do you want to go to a game where you could get beat 10, 12, 14, nothing? I'd like to see, it's one of the problems with splitting classifications is you're going to have that 1 versus 8.
Yes.
And when we didn't split classifications, you had that 15, 16 seed play. And then that winner, so they at least their first game was against another team that may only have a couple of wins. So I'd like to see some things. I know Rich was talking about equity and liking to see some different things. Our committees have thought maybe about something like a funky bowl where you have a more competitive sectionals for teams that might only win 1 or 2 games during the season. But those things are down the road and always have to get approved by the athletic council and the section. So.
And you're part of that.
Well, we can make recommendations, as our committees do. We make recommendations to sectional, intersectional committee, and then it goes to athletic council. But I'm not part of the athletic council.
If a team is dominating, say in Class B, could the competition committee move them up or down if they're not playing up to that standard?
Yeah, we don't generally do that.
Okay.
Teams can always opt to play up.
Okay.
If you're a B school and you want to play in the A's, you can apply to do that.
Even when it comes to the state?
I don't know why you would do it, Tom. That's a good question. They're never going to let anybody be a B school and go down to a C, but I don't know why they would do it, but that's available to them. But there's no real, committee moving people. I know I have some people on my committees that would like to be the, men's Division I basketball committee where we seed based on the eye test. And I want no part of that because who's it going to eventually come back to? And, the tough part is, do you see everybody? And, you don't have the metrics that a Division I men's basketball committee has to put people in certain seeds. So the seeding process isn't perfect, but I think Rich said this, when you get to that point, usually no matter what seed you are, you rise to the top if you've got that kind of team.
Yes. Looking forward. Mm-hmm. What do you have coming back next year? Who do you like out of the gate? And who are some of those players that we're going to want to talk about or kind of highlight as we head into the 2023 season?
Yeah, let me just say, certainly the sectional classifications are changing. Obviously, there's been a lot of publication on that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our AA class with girls soccer only has 6 teams in it, so it's actually gone down. And two of those teams are combined teams from the city. So it's basically Hutch Tech, Emerson, and Buffalo Culinary, Lafayette Performing Arts, and South Park are both combined. And then you got Niagara Falls, Lancaster, Jamestown, and Orchard Park will be the AAA.
Okay.
So, obviously Lancaster is returning, as I said earlier, 15 players, so they'll be very competitive in that group. Then you go down to A, and I think this is between A and AA are going to be the toughest classifications because the new classification of AA has Frontier, which we mentioned, Williamsville North, who's always a team that's extremely competitive.
Is it the same for boys and girls soccer?
Well, that's the difference. So when the state did this, they do it based on the number of programs, not the number of your beds based on schools. So I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe there's somewhere between 50 and 60 more girls soccer programs in the state of New York than there are boys.
Oh, wow.
So that throws, and I know, perfect example, Williamsville East girls are a AA, the boys are an A next year, based on where the split comes, because of the number of programs, not schools. So, for instance, back to AA, you've got Williamsville East, North Tonawanda, who had a great year in the NFL, You've got Niagara Wheatfield, Clarence, Williamsville North, and Frontier in that classification. That is, whoever gets out of that classification is going to be.
So the top 3 teams from A this past year jump up.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. Yes. Wow. So that classification will be difficult. Here's the other thing that throws a wrench into that. Frontier, North, Clarence, those schools, we're not used to playing Williamsville East, Kenmore West and North Tonawanda in the sectionals because they're traditionally A's and those bigger schools were double A's. So that'll be different as well unless you played them non-league. Then you go down to A where we have 20 schools in A. So that classification will be split, and it runs, Grand Island's in there, Amherst is in there, Williamsville South. Those are 3 very good programs. You've got Pioneer, who's traditionally strong in there. Then you've got Newport in that group. You've got Iroquois, who had a great year this year as well, and his City Honors is in there. And Olean, who's a real good program from the Southern Tier. So that's a very...
So to give everybody a gist, that's 5 teams from B1 that jump up to A that year.
Yes.
Right? City Honors led the way at 16-2. Newport was second at 14-5. Iroquois was fourth at 10-5. Pioneer was fifth at 11-4-1. And then Olean was seventh at 10-7-1. All those teams, in essence, the whole upper half of B1 moves up to the A division.
Yeah. And then if you go down to B, we've got 21 schools, from Tonawanda to Alden, East Aurora, who's another, perennial winner there. Fredonia, who was in the sectional final. Akron, who's had very good teams over the years. You're down to Eden, who has, some good years. Allegheny Limestone, who, a friend of mine, Dale MacArthur, I think he's in his 60th year coaching there or something, and Dale's a wonderful, wonderful man. He's in there. They were in the sectional final against Fredonia, so a lot of it's going to move a ton of schools around to playing schools that they're not used to. Now that's going to be fun because you're playing schools that you're not used to, but it's also going to throw a little mix into the divisions as well. You now may be playing someone in your division that you don't see normally in sectionals, and now you see them. So you might be playing them a third time. So it's going to be, and I'll just go through, C schools have 8 now. I think we had 12 or 13 schools, and D schools we only have 3. So
you have 3 D schools.
3 D schools that participate in girls'
Well, there was
soccer.
only 4 last year.
Right.
And there's been times where we've had 2, and
So
3 or 4 years ago we had 1.
Who moves up out of D? Is it Ellicottville?
No, so the D is Ellicottville, Franklinville, and North Collins.
So Maple Grove moves up to C.
Maple Grove will be a C, yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then if you want, your C schools your former C schools that are now B schools would have been Pine Valley and Silver Creek. Both of them are combined, so that's probably why they're in a B and not in a C. Silver Creek's combined with Forestville and Pine Valley.
Will Gowanda stay as part of that too?
Well, Pine Valley and Gowanda are combined.
Okay. So that's already combined. Now you're adding Silver Creek too.
Right. Right. So it's going to change a lot.
Yes.
Going to change a lot. So
it was a while when we first started back in 2016. We had like a weekly WNYA Athletics Athlete of the Week. We started this, and the very first recipient was a boy from Pine Valley, and I drove down there with like a T-shirt. I think we had T-shirts, and I kept on driving and driving and driving. Like, do we really want to do high school sports? I'm not. I got to get back to work. I'm doing this like on a lunch. Yeah. I didn't realize how far away Pine Valley is. It's far, and I can't remember the kid's name who won. When I got there, they had no idea who I was, what I was there to do. But I think we could probably go to Pine Valley now, and they might recognize WNYA Athletics.
They got a good baseball team. Yeah. I know that. Listen, they're good
Tom's
in baseball.
keyed into baseball, right, Tom? But, that's one of the things that's difficult as a chairman is trying to find those neutral site semis and final games.
Yes.
We've been lucky to have Dunkirk and Pioneer over the years want to host the C's and D's for girls soccer so that those teams don't have to come all the way up here to a Sweet Home or a Williamsville or a northern school. But then you also, you host the C's and D's at Dunkirk, and then Wilson makes it.
Yes.
So Wilson's got to
Yeah.
go to Dunkirk. So it's
better than having to go down to Jamestown
yeah.
though,
I mean,
to a degree.
it's as close as we can get it
Yeah.
without but you got to go where the majority of those schools are
Yes.
from that classification. So
Yeah.
it's one of those tough things. One last thing I will mention, I think was really impressive. We had 29 players throughout the section 6, receive all-state honors. And that's from 19 different teams, which is also impressive that there was that many players recognized for all-state, as through all classifications, and then also from 19 different teams.
Is that posted anywhere? Maybe we can repost that or something.
I think it was. I posted it on our Twitter,
Okay.
and then the Buffalo News had it on there. But we can. It's on the Section 6 girls soccer.
You know what? I think we forwarded it out too.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll bring them some more recognition. Coach, I know we definitely went overtime today, but we'd like to get you back for girls basketball in a couple
Put me
weeks.
on the spot now.
Well, we got to bring you back. You could talk about the officials, which you
Oh.
are one, and in positive light.
Yeah.
And you could talk about some of those teams and what's new, anything new with girls basketball in terms of rules, what to look forward to, where sectionals are going to be, and that type of thing. Do we know where sectionals are going to be? We know they're going to be above state, but
Yeah. Well, we're hosting regionals this year for
first 5
for girls. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
that'll
so
be
regionals
interesting.
Will be there, and then obviously we'll have regionals and finals above state this year, so that'll be great. But last thing for me, thank you guys for what you're doing. The kids always talk about, hey, West New York Athletics is here, and
Nice.
we certainly appreciate the amount of time that all of you put in your highly paid jobs here at West New York Athletics, right, Tom? I mean, again, you guys are doing it because of the love of the game and the kids, and we certainly appreciate from our end as coaches and as chairman the amount of time that games are put on and that you
Yeah.
spend, covering every sport.
I mean, we want to do more for soccer, and there's other sports that definitely need more attention. The problem is we don't want to be fake about it. I mean, I can't go call a soccer game. I don't know much about it. So for me to go out there and try to do – if we were to go out and broadcast soccer, me and Tom, the parents would be like, who are these idiots? They don't know the first thing about soccer. Why are they calling a soccer game? We don't want it to be disingenuous.
Yeah.
And I'm not a good writer, so I can't go out and necessarily write about a game recap because I don't know the game well enough. So it's disingenuous for us to go out and do it.
So it's important for us, Frank, to be networking as coaches and to find former players that want to do Tom can do a play-by-play of any sport.
Yep.
Stu can do Stu knows soccer because his daughter played for a number of years, but Stu Boyer can do a play-by-play of any sport. It's that color person that can add those types of things. So it's incumbent on us, on coaches, to find retired coaches that want to do a game a week or a couple games in a season, and or former players that want to come back and sit in a booth for one game here or there and help out and give back, because that's essentially what we're doing is we're giving back. And that, paying it forward, the amount of time that people spend on promoting your game, now it's time for you to give back.
Yep.
So again, we appreciate it.
And you've done it this past year. Todd Marquardt did it for boys, so you can see it.
And it's fun. It's actually enjoyable to do. And it's fun to sit down with Stu and Paul, who hated me for the 5 to 7 years that their kids played. I was the enemy. And to sit down with them and help them with color or whatever, or a little thing, and it doesn't even have to be a full game. It can be, a half game. But we'll as coaches, and as the people that we are, try and work on that for you and find more of those people, because you're right. It is incumbent on you. You don't have enough people to do every game, and you don't have enough people to do every sport every week. So. We need to find people for you guys, and hopefully we can do that. And help
it's
out
getting
in that-
there.
in that-
It's come together. But like I told Rich on the last segment, we will dedicate a day next year in the fall. It'll be girls soccer. This is and when I say girls soccer, we'll come on to a game. I'm hoping we can do 2 games at a time, and kind of show 2 different games. We'll send one crew out to, Dunkirk or Wilson or East Aurora, and then we send another crew over to Will East or South or North, whatever.
Well, the other
that's
thing
what we want to try and do.
The other thing that's difficult for you is it's not basketball, so it's a much tougher setup. You're outside in the weather. And Tom's been there with with softball.
Those
and
basketball
baseball
setups could be just
and
as
the
tough.
softball.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of fans, but what I'm saying is, sometimes you might want to go to a school to film, but there's really, they don't play with any bleachers where you can get a good camera, and you don't have any cover, and if it rains, so you have to be choosy about where you're going. So that's another thing that makes it difficult. But again, we appreciate it, and I appreciate you having me on, and certainly Rich and Tim too as well, and covering our sport, and that's very helpful for us.
That's what it's all about. We're trying to do that whole Inside High School Sports yet again, and Tom will be back next week with Francis. They're going to unveil the all Western New York athletics football team, first team, second team, then some honorable mentions. I won't be here.
Large and small too.
Oh, large and small.
Large
and small. So they'll do that. Heidi, producing today, has done a fabulous job. We want to thank, of course, all of our guests that were here. Tim Delaney, South Park, Rich Kozak, Frontier FC, and, of course, Chris Durr, Section 6 girls soccer chairman, also an official with the girls basketball, and the chairman for girls basketball as well, longtime coach over at Will East, where he should have been a Hall of Fame coach and just shy of 400 wins. Hopefully he'll get there with the help of Clarence. But we had a lovely 2 hours that came and went and flew by. Tom is going to go out shopping and get those gifts wrapped for next week, somewhere between now and next week. He's going to the Bills game tonight, so go Bills. And, yes.
I know he's a double X.
But we hope you all had a good, enjoyable Saturday morning with a cup of coffee watching Tom and I do this show. We do it for the kids, and we had a great time doing it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week back here on High School Sports Saturday, WNYA Athletics. Have a great week, everybody.
Life can be full of surprises, but not always the good kind. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care, and we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
There's nothing better than owning the perfect house to come home to. You've earned it, and we'll make it happen. Our local real estate experts and in-house team of financial professionals make buying or selling your home simple. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.